evening, everyone. I'm thrilled to welcome you to yet another thought-provoking session brought to you by Pratha Indic Renaissance in association with Geo Events. Today's topic is one that strikes at the heart of the modern workplace. The 90-hour work week, Gen Z's mental health struggle, or boomers' work ethic clash. This isn't about a debate of ours. It's about values, priorities, and how generations define success. Is this relentless work culture a necessary evil driving progress? Or is it a realistic of past that needs rethinking? To explore this, we are honored to have two incredible minds joining us. First, we have Major Mohommed Ali Shah, sir, a man who truly embodies versatility and excellence. From serving in the armed forces with honor to mesmerizing audience as a TEDx speaker and a storyteller, Major Shah is a living testament to discipline and creativity. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Divyanshi. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Hi, Aditya. Thank you, Vishal, for having sent this kind invitation. I'm very happy to be here.
Likewise, sir. And next panelist we have is a Gen Z representing Gen Z. We have Aditya Trivedi, a powerhouse of talent and insight. Aditya is not just a colleague at Pratha as Chief Advocacy Officer, but he's also practicing lawyer before Delhi High Court and tribunals, as a partner at Analog Legal, a full-service firm. He is at the forefront of addressing the complexities of modern work and law. And I am Divyanshi, the Vice President of Pratha Indic Renaissance, and your moderator for today's session. When I talk about this topic, this isn't just another topic for me. It's something that I deeply reflect on. The constant struggle between mental health and productivity is one that I see every day around. And I'm passionate about understanding from the two ignited minds that have joined today, as an individual in a society, how to navigate this delicate balance. So let's get started. So forward looking to the session, and once again, welcome Major Mohommed Ali Shah sir and Aditya. And I think it's one of the most booming topics that everybody is talking, right from the boardrooms to dining halls to the living rooms, and something that we very strongly feel about. So my first question to Major Mohommed Ali Shah sir, having seen and worked in different walks of life, from the disciplined routines of military to the creative realms of storytelling, how do you view the concept of 90 hours work week, a full debate? Do you see it as a marker of commitment or as an unhealthy trend?
Okay, Divyanshi, is a very, very good question. I'll be very honest with you. I'm a workaholic. I enjoy working and I love to work. I work minimum of 18 hours a day and I hate weekends personally. That's a very personal thing. But it's not about the hour that I put in, and I would not advocate for the number of hours, 90 hours. No, I would advocate the productivity. If you heard Anand Mahindra's interview, in fact, he's from my school. I'm from his school rather, Lawrence School, Lovedale. I had the honor of working in his company, in fact, for about a year. And I wrote a very nice message to him, in fact, after that interview. And so he has mentioned about productivity. How productive are those hours? So when I was in school, I would study also that time 18 hours a day, but I would end up failing in most of my subjects despite studying 18 hours a day. Where there were people who would study 2 hours a day and they would top. And you're like, wow, how come? And they said it's the concentration that matters. At the top of a school, of a batch of Atul Sinha and all these guys, they used to be like really topping and doing exceedingly well. And so it's about when I was in the army, there was one general, one corps commander. He imposed a fine. He said, at 1 o'clock sharp, you all should have left your offices. So if you have gone beyond 1 o'clock, which means you're not productive, which means you don't know your beams, you don't know your work. You are making life miserable for yourself and your juniors. Your juniors are only sitting there because you are sitting there. So if you're doing some work and you're there, it's okay. So yes, this whole concept of 90 hours, I don't believe, but yes, target oriented, If you give me targets, not hours, targets, say you have to do this, and you give then yes, I advocate productivity and targets, not long working hours.
I think it's a very genuine point also that if you end up working 18 hours and you do not have the productivity, I think that's not the right set of working in this modern era of changing and evolution. It has to be smart work and productivity. Aditya, now moving towards you. You, as representative of Gen Z, you are likely seeing the conversation around the hustle culture and mental health evolve. What's your perspective on 90 hours week? Do you think it aligns with the Gen Z's priorities, or does it clash with the value of mental well-being and work-life balance?
Right, Divyanshi. Thank you so much for this question. Hello, Major Dr. Mohommed Ali Shah, sir. Pleasure to be sharing stage with you.
Same
And
here. Thank you.
when we speak of Gen Z, first of all, Gen Z has not elected me as their representative. So first,
I think Aditya has taken that too literally. We've been talking about Gen Z as a crime, as a crime
later
generation.
on these, yeah, later on, I don't want to be trolled that, oh, who elected this person as Gen Z's representative because we are too cool to be him or something like that. So the issue here is, see, uh, obviously we belong to I am 2000 born, so belonging to modern generation, and then we see that there's a term that we all have divided each of us, like Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X, boomers, and all these things. World likes theories, so this is a division that we have done, classification we have done. Is there any logic to it? I am not known, but then we understand that okay, there are some generational understandings to it. My first take is, and then I'll come to 90R. First take is that we have to give time to Gen Z. They are too young. They are too young to be at the peak of their careers. They are too young to be shown what is their true potential. Like very young, maybe 20, aged between maybe 23 to 27, or a bit around that age, in their 20s, still in their 20s. So I would say, in my opinion, that we have to give some more time to these generations so that they can show their potential what is there. Second thing is, I agree with Major Shah that productivity should be given priority. Let me first also introduce Alvin Toffler to you. He has been a great futurist, and yesterday I was invited to review one of his books, Future Shock. So Alvin Toffler, in one of his interviews in 1980s, talks about industrial discipline. So industrial discipline and schooling. So who brought industrial disciplines to schools? A lot of industry leaders in US used to think that these factory workers, they are not coming on time. And in assembly line production, you need to be on time. If you are not on time, a lot of production will get affected. So that is why an industrial discipline was introduced. Also, timings and quantitative originates from assembly line and factory work culture and industrial revolution. But we have seen more than industrial revolution, which is Renaissance, which is enlightenment, which is creativity. So I think that we have to balance, and then we'll talk further.
I think Aditya has very rightly pointed out that Gen Z needs to be given a little more time because the generation before Gen Zs have already labeled them as a crybaby generation. So I think it's a little injustice to this generation. But now coming to the leadership, Major Shah, I would like to ask you, the idea of 90 hours work a week often stems from the mindset of founders or leaders who are deeply passionate about growing their companies. But for many of their employees, job is just a part of their life, not the entirety of it. This creates a clash between the leaders who glorify the relentless hustle, while the employees seek balance to see overwork as toxic. Don't you think that there is a need for leadership to evolve and recognize the hustle of founder or CEO can't be seen as that of the employee?
You are absolutely right, Divyanshi, and I must compliment Aditya for giving such intelligent points, in fact. So, there's a saying, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And when we talk about work-life balance, and there are people who would say, no, there's a big joke about just yesterday. I had the honor to interview a close acquaintance, Harpriya Benz. She's a brigadier's wife, a stand-up comedian. You must have seen her very funny video went viral about uh, staring at wife, on
Yes.
Saturday. Okay. So until you are involved, you play sport, you read books, you meet people, you socialize, you educate yourself, unless and until your personal front, your home front is doing well, only then you outside in your professional life here. You can't be having issues in family
Exactly.
and then working, trying to get, because your mind will be engaged there. Oh, I am going through this kind of stress at home, and my child is not doing well in his subjects, for example. And then you are working, you cannot do that. You have to give time, you have to unwind. We have to, on weekends, you'll want to spend time with family, you'll want to go out on weekends, have some nice food somewhere, hang out, go for a picnic, go for watch a movie. I mean, this is something which is, if you can work, I mean, there are some companies where you do a check-in, a punch-in and punch out, biometrics. You punch the card at 9:30 and you punch out at 6:30 or whatever, irrespective. So now, where's the guarantee? It's not a government job that you 9 to 5, that you have come, all right, you've checked in, all right, and what have you done? What matters is not if you have punched in on time. What matters is how have you utilized your time there? What are your deliverables there? Why do you think the work from home concept was very successful? In fact, today as a defense analyst, I don't even have to travel to the studios and then give my answers on TV. I am at home. And today I had come for a podcast to a studio. And I'm here. This is the background. So I had the advantage of coming here, cut, and log in, log out. It's very simple. Either you travel half an hour, 1 hour, so much electricity, fuels, there's so much of consumption on power, energy, time. It's less taxing. So why do you think work from home in the pandemic which came about was so successful? For this reason, but also work from home also had a drawback that you can get calls midnight. Earlier, no one would disturb you beyond 6:30 or beyond your office hours on weekends. Now, till 12 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock at night, you're working. So that also has a drawback. But what matters is deliverables. Like as I mentioned about the General Sahab, we impose a penalty. Beyond one, if you're found, then you are penalized. That means you're not efficient. You're not productive. So there is something as man management. And you talk about leadership. I learned leadership on ground in the army, and thereafter management at IIM Calcutta. So one important lesson I would like to all our viewers know is a boss says I, a leader says we. A boss says get there on time. A leader says let's get there ahead of time together. A boss knows how it's to be done. A leader shows how it's to be done. A boss lets his people know where he stands. A leader lets his people know where they all stand together. A boss takes the credit. A leader gives it away. So I advocate being a leader than a boss, in fact. Yes, Divyanshi.
I think it's a beautiful statement that you said, that boss is someone who just gives you, but leader is who takes you, but leader is someone who gives you the credit. And I think it's a very beautiful, but and also it's very important for everyone to understand that if you have to be productive at work, you need to have a good family life. And in the starting of the statement, you said that Anand Mahindra's statement. So it's Sunday evening. How much time do you stare at your wife?
See, again, it's Sunday evening. I enjoy working. So I had a podcast. So I fixed it up over here. They are setting up the stage and such thing, So I took a break from there. And now on Sunday, I loved Anand Mahindra's answer. He said, my wife is wonderful. I love staring at her.
Yeah. Now coming to Aditya as someone, not elected representative of Gen Z, but one who represents Gen Z. You're part of the leadership team. How do you view the dynamics? Because you are founder, uh, who is willing to put in 90 hours a week to chase their vision. But employees might not share the same level of passion or energy for the company. Do you think it's fair for leaders to expect their teams to match their intensity or the time we clear the boundaries between leadership, hustle, and employees' well-being?
Right. Thank you so much, Divyanshi, for this question. And I agree in major view with Major Shah about productivity, about being creative. And let me pick some of my points from my previous conversation. That industrial revolution, then we had enlightenment, and we have so many like enlightenment and then romanticism. Let me bring some literature revolutions with you. So if we compare these two, why romanticism came uh, as a criticism of enlightenment, that enough of science, enough of rationality, let us also have some creativity beats. Then we had Bachchanji, Harivansh Rai Bachchanji in India for with respect to Hindi romanticism and other people. And we also had people like Manto, who was so bebak. So yesterday was Punyatithi of both Manto as well as Bachchanji. So we had all these people. Now my answer to you is that if we are not creatively productive, we would not be able to create new talents, new artists, or new form of leadership. There may be horizontal leadership and vertical leadership. In my limited experience, I have seen that modern generation likes more of horizontal leadership. Like it should not be vertical, for example, president, vice president, and then some other position, team leads, or all these things. This is a conventional model of leadership. But what you give to the modern generation is that, oh, you look after designs, you look after logistics, you look after uh, uh, communications, you look after content, you look after production, you look after this or that. So this is an horizontal form of leadership, and you give them a time frame or somewhat whatever is needed. For example, I've come from a media family. My father has been a senior journalist. I see that media is a very demanding industry. There, not only 90 hours, you may even put more than it. That you are required whenever there's any update or something like that. You have to write. I in COVID times, I remember that. I used to see some exposures, got some exposure to media, and at midnight you get calls from your correspondents that, oh, this happened, that happened. So it also depends on demands of the industry. In law, you see that we have to be available to our clients most of the times. So it does not depend whether you're working on 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. It's about the end result and product. What if you are available from 9 p.m. to 5 p.m.? Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal, a public intellectual, he has written in a column recently that there are even escapes to corporate culture, that CEOs have long meetings, lunch breaks which are longer than needed, and then in the garb of having working more than 14 hours or 18 hours or maybe more than that, they may not even be working. They might be with a friend or something, maybe doing anything else. So who is looking into, who is introspecting? So quantity may not be the right aspect of it. Quality is right, and quality, I bring it with innovation, with creativity. You may work from a cafe, and you may work from home, you may work near the riverside, you may work from Kumbh Mela, you work from Delhi's capital, you work from Washington, you work from Venice. At the end, what matters is that you're working. I remember some of the senior lawyers during COVID times doing live streaming of cases and appearing from Himalayas. And the judge is asking, where are you? They are saying that, your lordship, we are at Manali's XYZ place, and taking a break as well as working. So I think that enjoying work is more important. You enjoy it, you give it with some creativity, because it is not assembly line anymore. We have we have advanced ourselves, and as artificial intelligence kicks in, your creativity will be something that AI will not be able to replace. Your networking will be something that AI will never be able to replace. So if we don't stick to our creativity, networking, and life skills, life values, virtues, I think that AI will be replacing all of the other things. So let us stick to these few things which makes us more human. That I think that this is it.
I think it's a very beautiful answer that you said that quality should matter over quantity. And a lot of time, leadership are seen to be managing the micromanagement, which often makes the employees of the toxic work culture. So I think that needs to be avoided, and productivity needs to be prioritized. While this 90 hours debate has been going on, and I said that it's beyond the boardrooms now, in the dining table, in the rooms, in the homes, uh, one of the one of the other side that came was why people are able to prioritize mental health, work-life balance, because they are served with India that is right now. Major Shah, I would like to ask you and understand from you India's journey from 1990s, where people have worked tirelessly, sometimes even exceeding 90 hours, to lay the foundation of today, thriving economy. How do you see the current generation's approach, or is it more about being aware and making the choices as a country and work culture evolve?
That's a very good question, Divyanshi. It's about, it's about being aware of the scenario. It's about changing with the current times. What we used to do in the 90s, we don't do it now. Like after 2012, especially WhatsApp became very popular. Earlier, we were only dependent on SMSs. And especially when the mobiles came in around 2000, that's the time when Aditya was born, around that time. I guess Aditya's arrival must have been informed on the mobile, the good news. So initially, people did not know how to use the mobile. Now they did not. They only use for calling or SMS, and even for receiving a call would take 18 rupees for receiving a call, even for 2 seconds. Oh, mere 18 rupees cut gaye mere. You know, so today people cannot do without the mobiles. They have got their e-wallets, they've got WhatsApp, they've got their messages, emails, work, everything is on their mobiles. Everything, the world is in their mobiles. So we have to change the times. Now, from 1990s till today, I mean, if you see, so much, India has transformed a great deal. Like in 1991, there was the Northeast India Act East policy, which was formed in 1991. It was Look East first by PV Narasimha Rao's government. It became Act East in 2014 by Sushma Swaraj and Mr. Narendra Modi. They made it Act East, which meant all the other foreign countries towards the east. Because 1991, the disintegration of USSR took place. And when an international event of that magnitude takes place, it affects the entire world somewhere or the other. और कहीं ना कहीं जुड़े होते हैं. So when Hillary Clinton, in fact, also said that India needs to have a policy with our countries towards the east for the trade, bilingual ties, for exchange, for trade, for economy, for a lot of things. A lot changed thereafter. No? From Look East, it became Act East to where it is today. Similarly, if I talk about 90s, there was terrorism was on the peak in Jammu and Kashmir. But now, if you see, it is thankfully calming down. It won't happen overnight. It will take a while. The insurgency in Nagaland was on the peak in the 80s and 90s, and there came a ceasefire later on. But today, Nagaland is considered for the Assam Rifles, it's a peace posting. So a lot has changed during that time. So I would say that when you say that, okay, earlier, like for example, our parents, they would say, in our times, we used to do this, I was doing this, but today, a lot has changed. If I compare myself that in my time, this used to happen, in my son's time, this used to happening, it's a different thing. You have to adapt. As Charles Darwin theory says, survival of the fittest. You have to adapt, constantly changing. Like technology again. Technology, we have to change the times. We made a technology some time back. Now we can't live off, it will become redundant. Like we upgrade our cars after a while. We upgrade mobiles. We upgrade laptops. Simple. Similarly, the high-tech technology also needs to be upgraded. Similarly, our thinking also needs to change. So most certainly, like this whole concept about why are we discussing this? Because it's a very hot topic. I know a lot of companies, they even bug their employees. Yeah, there was this girl from Lockheed Martin, um, and she passed away. Then there was this uh, which I hope I've got the company right.
There was a last year. There was a case of Anna Sebastian
Ah,
from EY. She
yeah,
passed away.
that's right. That's right. Anna Sebastian passed away. So, in fact, Lockheed Martin is a very, very good company. I hope I'm right. I apologize if I mentioned the company's name wrong. I didn't mean that. I mean, I'm talking about Anna's case over here now. Earlier, वो भूल जाओ वो अलग मैंने कुछ और reference बोला होगा because okay, so Anna Sebastian passed away because of the work pressure, the workload, right? So we should not create unnecessary stress for our team members, for our employees, for our juniors. We should function together as one team. We should not say I, me, and you. कोई slave थोड़ी है. No one's anyone's slave. Like they are companies, they are consultancies which treat their employees. I know there are some companies they treat their employees very, very badly, and they're companies which treat their employees very, very well. They have samosa parties and they have a good working culture. Why not to make a culture? And if you enjoy the work that you do, you'll never have to do a hard day's work for the rest of your life. As I mentioned that I enjoy working. My idea of a good time, my idea of partying is work actually. I'll be very, very honest. But I'll be very honest, despite telling you that I have worked 18 hours a day, I've never worked hard ever in my life till today. I don't know. I've worked hard once when I was not really enjoying my job. And I wasn't putting 18 hours a day that time. I was putting in a few hours. Hard work is what? Hard work is doing something which your mind resists to do. That's hard work. It could be 1 hour in a day. But if you are not enjoying it, it'll be hard work. If you're enjoying it, 18 घंटे भी कम पड़ेंगे actually आपको.
I think it's very important for everyone to know that आप अपने काम को किस तरीके से एंजॉय कर रहे हैं और वो सबसे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है कि rather than micro managing कि आपने कितने बजे पंच इन किया पंच आउट किया productivity matters. And a very important point that we have been discussing is it's unfair for the generations from 90s to compare to present generation कि हमारे समय में ऐसा होता था because with India's economy thrives, the evolution and the mindset also needs to be thrived. So Aditya, how do you respond to the perception that your generation may not work as hard to the previous generation? Do you think this is fair or does it overlook the evolving definition of hard work in today's world?
Divyanshi, I feel that the comparison or relativity is good, but who founded Zepto? Zepto is by a Gen Z entrepreneur, Aditya Palecha, and his friend. We have a lot of singers who are very young in their stages. We have young entrepreneurs coming up at Shark Tank. We have young singers coming up at Indian Idol or something. So we do see young talents portrayed. We do see young people who are maybe working in the traditional ways or maybe innovative ways. Even Alan Walker is not very older than me, maybe a bit 2-3 years plus. So the issue is that we have many examples, many illustrations of good Gen Z who are there as entrepreneurs, who as founders or something like that. But the issue here is that maintaining a balance is important. Balance as well as portrayal, perception. So unfortunately, Gen Z's perception has been that they do not follow what is told. They do not follow what has been going on conventionally, what has been going on traditionally. So this is a perception. But may not be true for most of the people who come in this generation. For example, we saw some many unfortunate accidents like road rash or road rage or some rave parties or something like that, and young people were involved. So then the generation, whole of the generation was in a way defamed as well. There were many instances even of cybercrime and things like that. So we have positives and negatives both as well. But I think that this generation was also born with a lot of pressure, a lot of complexities, and was born in a complex time. As sir said, that my birth might have been told on a phone call. So we have been living with internet, we have been living with Wi-Fi, we have been living with a global outlook. In the initial days after independence, the generation that was just after independence was maybe living in a very different way, in a different setup than how people are living today. When I look at my younger siblings, they know chat gpt in a way that maybe I may not be able to use or may not be able to adopt to. So we all have our limitations. Our human mind has its own preferences. So our generation, I think that is creative. We have to have some bit of faith in the generation. Some more time needs to be given. And why they prioritize mental health is the very simple reason is that mental health got capitalized very late in the world. There was always a way out of mental health because we used to live in joint family setup in India. But then when family system also broke in many ways, nuclear families and then other forms of families, now we also have modern concepts of single mother or single father by choice, not by separation but by choice. For example, even Tushar Kapoor now is a single father, we see some. So when these kind of changes take place, these kind of new adaptations take place, mental health is also a new addition that we saw since maybe 1 or 2 decades or maybe some more. So our generation got trapped in. When they were born, they all had these options on their plate. A person who was born in 1950 didn't have all these options. So when you have options that, okay, I have an option that I can also adopt, I can also take a sabbatical, telling that I'm concerned with my mental health, I can take a sabbatical. This option didn't have, this option was not available to a person who was born in maybe 1930s or 50s, 60s, 70s, something like that. So we have a lot of options, and I think that my generation is utilizing right to consumer choice, right to the choices that okay, we have all these options. Let us explore what works. Broadcaster, they can be actor, they can be traditionally lawyers, scientists, or joining army or even in media. So a lot of such options are there. So the more the options, the more the permutations, combinations, I believe. And that is why we are seeing young people doing a lot of things that previous generations were not doing.
I think you have explained it very beautifully about how this generation has evolved, and all the permutations and combination with all the different aspects of life has been given to them on the plate, and they've been utilizing it as one of the very important and major factor of their lives. Uh, you talked about mental health, and mental health is something I deeply reflect on. There's a constant struggle between mental health, productivity, work life balance. And there are cultures in corporates where you glorify overwork, you glorify micromanagement. So I would like to ask to you, Major Shah, there has been a long-standing glorification of relentless overwork in our culture with long hours that we have discussed. We also discussed about the tragic incident of EY employee. Do you think the tendency to glorify overworking has overshadowed the importance of balance, and how we can redefine the commitment that looks in a happier way?
Right. That's again a very, very good question. Firstly, when I mentioned about Lockheed Martin, now that's a very, very good company. I would like to tell all our viewers once again, that and thank you for highlighting that. Yes, EY, Ernest Young, that about Anna Sebastian, she was with EY. Lockheed Martin, because also I was some time back speaking on defense production, and we spoke about Lockheed Martin, we spoke about EY. So, I would like to tell that Lockheed Martin is actually a very, very good company. In fact, again, I mentioned, it's got a very, very good working culture. I have friends working with Lockheed Martin, in fact. Now, coming to the point again, yes, we are, paying a lot of emphasis on a lot of employers. They're looking at the employee, okay, HR, okay, punch in, punch out, how many hours. Unfortunately, the performance is based upon how many leaves has a person not taken, how many times has a person not been late. Good performer. Are you see the delivery, you see the contribution, you see the deliverables, you see the output, you see that. But no, unfortunately, for a lot of employers, it is no. So that again, that mindset, that shift is very, very important. That has to come. Otherwise, it will just be mere, total pura karna hai, tarikh, dates. You want to finish the working hours, log working. It's like pilots have a target, they fly. So they have to clock so many hours of flight time. That is because they're flying. It's a productive. They're taking people from one destination to the other for so many hours. But you cannot compare a corporate life to hours. Right. Yes.
And I think, Major Shah, I think the employers looking at our conversation right now should get some tips that how they need to redefine their leadership and the work culture. Aditya, I would like to ask the same question to you. In a system where overwork is often celebrated as
While you're answering, can I just join back in exactly a second?
Yes, absolutely, sir. The same question to you, Aditya. In a system where overwork is often celebrated as a virtue, we've seen tragic consequences where the recent losses of an EY employee, highlighting the dangers of this toxic work culture. Do you think glorifying long hours is failure of the system? And how can Gen Z, with its emphasis on mental health, lead a shift towards a more sustainable work culture?
Right. Thank you, Divyanshi. It is very unfortunate that these incidents take place, and some of my very good friends also work at EY, and they reported this incident also to me. And I was one of those people who initiated the conversation on LinkedIn on this topic, and it has been received well by most of the corporates that we give some productive message to fellow corporates on how to maintain their work culture, because we have many opposites uh, in the way of working, in the way of how CEOs react. Like, for example, what Anand Mahindra said is completely different from what previous of the concerned people who have told about 90 hours or 70 hours or something they told. So overworking, if it is glorified, I think that it is the insecurity of a corporate employee. Let me be very blunt. It is the insecurity of a corporate employee to over glorify their overwork. It is not an insecurity of a smart employee or of an achiever or a founder mentality, an entrepreneurial mentality. There was a doubt because I am a lawyer and I am also a member of few management associations. So I used to think that, can a lawyer be an entrepreneur? Now that's not the part of this conversation. Let me answer, can an employee be an entrepreneur? The answer is yes. You can. And one of the senior professionals from a big company answered to me that yes, entrepreneurs are your personalities. Entrepreneurs is your mindset. You do not need to be CEO, MD, CFO, etc. of a company to be an entrepreneur. You can be entrepreneurial in your mindset. You can be entrepreneurial in your spirit. You can be entrepreneurial in your work ethics, in your work product. So when you are an entrepreneurial, you will not glorify your overwork that, oh, see, I worked for 22 hours today. Recently, there was a case in which I was involved. We saved an foreign national. I worked 24 hours a day. I didn't sleep. So should I glorify that, or should I maybe glorify the results of what I have done? I may have worked 24 hours, but then there is no output of that. So that is you are just highlighting the number. Okay, no problem. I lived 24 years in my life. Please appreciate me. So that does not make sense. What you did in your 24, 25 years of your life or 40 years of your life, that should be appreciated. I have lived 365 days in 2024. I am an overachiever. Is that a point? I don't think though I even worked in Christmas. When the world was there, when there was no deal, since I am a corporate lawyer dealing with mergers acquisitions, no mergers acquisitions during Christmas, but I pre-planned many mergers acquisitions. So please give me an award. So nobody will give you award. I think it is an insecurity of many people that, oh, let me show the world that I have done this or that. Rather than that, they should so that they should think from an entrepreneurial mindset. You see that prime ministers used to recite speeches from pages. If you see Lal Bahadur Shastri ji, he would recite from pages. Our prime minister is now obviously modern, and Modi ji recites from digital softwares and digital scripts or things like that, digital spotlights. I'm not known of the terms. So with time,
Teleprompter.
teleprompter, right? So we have to change with time. And in courts now, see, iPads are used, and our Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, former Chief Justice, he has promoted iPad,
Digitalization through our
digitized courts like anything. Now anyone can see live streaming of cases. His father, Dr. Y.V. Chandrachud, would have never thought of it when he was there. So we have to be entrepreneurial. Like, my father is a senior journalist, but he does not know about podcasts. When I thought of podcasting, a competition law podcast, which is India's first podcast on that particular law in 2020, he called me one day and said, Aditya, I've been invited on a podcast. What is a podcast? Tell me. So he is a media tycoon asking me what is a podcast. So it's like adaptability and giving ourselves a space to learn more. That is very needed rather than overworking. For example, I won a case in XYZ law, but I don't know criminal law. I don't know maybe some other law. So let me learn it from some other person. It is not glorified that you as a corporate employee sitting in your cubicle is asking your neighbor employee, have you eaten your food? How is your wife? You suffered from a breakup. Are you okay now? Boss cares. Boss didn't like your work today. He screamed at you. Are you fine? They are not doing that. They might do, oh, boss screamed at him, let me utilize this opportunity and go to the boss and do some uh, chaplusi or whatever. So like that, we have to over glorify being human. And again, I would say that being kind, gentlemanly, it's the least expected of humans. This is also not to be glorified, because it is expected of a human to be kind. It is expected a human to be generous, to be maybe smart or intelligent. All our thinkers in the past, Indian rishis, everyone has been super intelligent. So those people we should look up to. So this is not over glorified. You shared your tiffin with your co-employee. This is not, there's no picture comes on internet or portals that, oh, the two employees eating together. This should be over glorified rather than you are over glorifying. And let me tell you very honestly, I'm not going to name the company, but after the death of an employee, the employees were mocking young recruits that these people create ruckus, and these people create ruckus and burden on the company, burden on the PR of the company. So just think that these people are concerned with the PR of the company or the institute rather than making reforms, making amends. This is the state of affairs, state of affairs of a few corporates, and let us not generalize. And I think that Major Shah will agree with me that we should not generalize that, okay, all corporates are like that. We don't comment on that. but you should be human at least, and humanity needs to be promoted and glorified. That's my answer.
It's a beautiful answer, and I would take that as an statement, underlying statement that glorification of work is never a solution. But you need to be more kind, more humane, and you need to be more giving as a person in the organization. And the only target should be your productivity and not the micromanagement. Thank you so much, Aditya and Major Shah, for sharing your invaluable insights. The conversation has highlighted the complexity of work culture across generation and the urgent need to strike a balance between ambitions and well-being. At the end, Major Shah, if you have to give one advice to the organizations and individuals navigating the pressure of high work culture, high work hour culture, what would it be?
I would give this advice in the form of this poem because we all see difficult times and that time we feel like giving up. But the trick is to hold on to it and not to give up. The advice I would give is when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you are trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but have to sigh, when care's pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, and all of us sometimes learn. And many a person turns about when he might have won, had he stuck it out. So don't quit. Though the pace seems slow, you may win with another blow. Often a struggler has given up when he might have captured the victor's cup. And he learned too late when the night came down how close he was to the golden crown. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint in the clouds of doubt. And you never can tell how close you are. It might be near when it seems afar. So stick to the fight when you're hardest hit. It's when things seem worst. It's when things seem worse, you must not quit. That's the advice I would give.
That's beautiful. And everyone listening to this, don't quit. And you might be very near to your ambition. It's just that life is a constant struggle and you have to keep struggling and finding ways out. Aditya, when we spoke to you about the overwork, and very beautifully you underlined that statement that one who is insecure, who has this insecurity of not being able to be productive. So we just tell about it in quantitative numbers. So one last thing that you would like to tell to the people with this perception and organization, which is prototyping the work hours.
I think that the only advice I would like to give, although I am very young to give advice, to a corporate, to an institution, to an organization is, rather than firing employees who you think are not productive, replace the CEO. Replace the CEO who is toxic, replace the HR manager who is toxic, and you would see, because a lot of things come from above. A lot of times change comes from external agencies. So you think that if someone is invited as a maybe growth consultant, management consultant, something, or these fancy words, company sees a change in profits, in their dynamics, in their demography. So I think that these strategies would be more helpful than destructing career or families of these innocent employees who might not have done anything wrong but may have suffered from the system of overworking, anti-mental health, anti-humanity. So I think that we have to be pro-human. I think that it may be a new word, pro-human CEO, pro-mental health CEO. So these kind of things may be promoted. I would like to see that. That's
beautiful, that pro-human, pro-mental health CEO, and I think it's just wonderful. Thank you so much, Major Shah and Aditya, for joining us in this very heated debate of 90 hours work week, Gen Z's mental struggle, or boomers work with a clash. I think it is and I think the very good thing is that we are talking about it. Might be like few years we might not be talking about it. So I think it's a good direction that we are talking about it. And as we say that economies have thrived, mindsets have thrived, mental health, work culture will also evolve. Thank you so much, the audience, for joining us. And it has been a wonderful, wonderful session. Thank you so much.